everyone. We are so excited to have Mitchell Yeager with us today. Mitchell will be talking about his experience with the NASM CPT test, which he recently passed on his first try. So before we start, Mitchell, I wanted to extend our congratulations on your victory.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you with us, and our audience is really eager to hear the inside scoop on your test experience. Before we get there, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
So I am someone who came out of the correctional industry, the prison business. I left that without any kind of real marketable skill set, right? My degree was in psychology, bachelor's degree. Very limited opportunities to make any kind of substantial money. I love working out. I've always been devoted to exercise for over 10 years, over a decade. I started lifting weights in high school football, never really stopped. Recently, I've gotten into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a competitive athlete there, won gold in my division. I liked boxing when I was in my early 20s. I went to a boxing gym as a pretty devoted athlete there. I mean, the gym is my life, so I might as well make a career out of my passion. They say that if you do what you love, you're never going to work a day in your life, really.
Yeah, I love that sentiment. And being 2 decades into it, I still love it as much, maybe even more than I did when I first got into it. So yeah, congratulations again. Let's just talk about the test. Was it what you expected, or what was different than you expected? So thinking about a lot of our listeners are going to be current NASM students that they haven't taken the test yet, or maybe they've taken the test and they haven't passed on their first or second try, and they're going to be trying again. So what are some of the things that surprised you?
So, if all you have got for your reference material, for your study material, is the practice test that NASM itself provides, you are going to be lost because there are like 10 different NASM practice exams on the NASM website. The way that we have it, our practice test that we made is the closest it can get to what NASM actually uses for its final exam.
This is some of our listeners. So we have, okay, so NASM is an NCCA accredited certification, which is good. It's the gold standard. Any of the top certifications have this, but NCCA has all of these requirements and limitations with how much information can be released that is on the actual exam. And there are 3 versions of the current exam. So when you get on there, like Mitchell is saying, most people are shocked when they get to the real exam because it is nothing like these practice tests. However, what Mitchell was also referencing is the test that I developed for the CPT Academy that doesn't face those same restrictions and limitations. So it follows the exact number of questions per section that you would expect. And I have the freedom to put whatever content we want in there because we're not affiliated with NASM. So we're not going to be bound by those same restrictions. Yeah, awesome point to start out. Okay, what else? What do you want to share?
So, the way that NASM presents its content in and of itself, the content, um, leaves the person trying to learn a bit lost because it's without context. It's a boatload of information where there is no guidance. There is no instructor to walk you through it. Um, Ashley is an instructor who has been accredited by. What have you been? What is your credential?
I'm the certification director for WITS. That's a different NCCA cert. So I've been teaching CPT courses and certification tests on the college level for over 15 years. And I've been trained by a psychometrician, which is somebody who develops standardized tests specifically for our industry. Thanks, Mitchell.
Yeah, that is excellent. So with our program, this is who you have access to. Whereas if you just go into NASM cold, blindly, it's you're all on your own. In and of itself, NASM has a 50% fail rate. I don't know if any of y'all knew that. Um, with us, the fail rate is only 10%. No, is It's five.
Yeah, less. Yeah, it's our pass rate is over 95%. Yeah, I think what you said, one time when you and I were talking before today, you used
Yeah.
the word demystified. And I really like that because, the way that I typically explain it to people is that I will take the complex science and break it down so that we can explain it in simple terms so that when you're the learner, you can still get tested on the big words, but you're going to have that understanding and somebody's going to teach it to you. So it's like the answer to this is not to teach yourself. The answer to this is to have somebody actually teach it. And that's why we developed the course that is 37 hours of video instruction. So it really is like taking a full college course on the NASM CPT program.
It's a
Yeah, okay, so anything else? Let's say this, Mitchell. If you could go back in time to tell yourself, like the you of a few weeks ago before you took your test, what was going to be on there, something that could help you be better prepared for it, what would that information be?
So there are three versions of NASM's final exam. The one that I took, it seems to me that a great deal of the content on that test, the version that I got, was as follows. The questions were worded like, what is the verbal cue that you give to your client when you are doing X exercise?
Yeah, exactly. So there are so many questions that are going to be about the exercise, the way to classify the exercise, the technique instructions. So maybe Mitchell, having used our exercise library cheat sheet where we have everything grouped chapter by chapter, here's every single exercise, here are the rules that go with it, here are the terms that you expect to see, and then diving a little deeper with exercises one by one, what are the questions that we would expect to see about the technique, the form? Do you want to talk about how that was useful or maybe applied when you were taking the test?
So there's an entire section of our material on our website. It's the exercise library. It's very step by step. We show you how to not only ace these questions, but how to actually do your job at whatever gym you're working at, or whatever, wherever your client's at. We tell you how to coach your client using that exercise library. That's why it is very helpful.
Yeah, fantastic point. So I think a lot of times this gets lost in the shuffle. When people are preparing for the test, they lose sight of the fact that the ultimate goal here isn't to pass the test. It's to be able to successfully apply this information with your clients. Yeah, really good point. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about overactive, underactive questions because that's, I think, probably across the board what I hear to be the most intimidating subject, the one that people are the most confused by and the most afraid of the test questions regarding. So, what would you like to share about that?
So there is a section, seemingly regardless of what version of your test will be, a lot of those test questions are going to be about, in this format, um, this muscle is overactive. What must be the underactive muscle? So with us, you have access to a list. We make that very, demystified.
Yeah, that is my goal. But like again, some people, okay, like being realistic here. Some people,
Mhm.
the best they can do is memorize the list. If you memorize the list, you can still get all of those questions on the test. But we also go through where I'm going to show it with the body. We're going to talk about it. We're going to understand why does this one get tight? How does that lead to the other one getting weak so that you really understand it? Where again, it's like, I think for the test, the less you have to memorize, the better. The more you can understand, the better. And coming back to like what you were saying with the exercise library, NASM has an awesome exercise library video section that you're not directed to, that most people don't even know exists. They think that when you're going through the modules and you see a handful of videos, that that's it, and it's not. There are hundreds of videos. So I think watching those, doing those, that's one of the big things that I recommend is if you can remember it from your body, it's less that you have to try to cram into your brain because then did you have that experience at all in the test where they're asking technique things and you're kind of like thinking about, all right, if I did this exercise, where would I feel it, what would I have to correct, that kind of stuff?
I actually performed some of those exercises myself.
during the test.
Well, not during the test, but as a preparation for the test.
Yeah,
Um, I was
good. So
thinking,
that,
what am I going to feel in this part of my body if I move the reciprocal part of it?
yeah.
Right. So what if I stoop over with my spine? What muscle am I going to feel is overactive?
Yes, very good. Good, good. Okay, so let's jump to learning styles because one thing that we do is cater to all of the different learning styles and the different combinations. I think a lot of people that are drawn to our field are movers, right? We like to use our bodies so we can learn a lot kinesthetically through our bodies. But then you also have people that are going to be straight auditory or visual learners, and most people are going to be a combination of them. So can you talk a little bit about what you think, like what is your preferred style of learning and what kind of resources did we give you that spoke to that?
Yeah, my preferred learning style is repetition. More so than okay, I don't really know if I'm a visual learner versus an auditory learner versus this versus that. All those things are kind of equal to me, but what really helps me is putting things on repeat, saying something and then looping it back. Right. What we offer here at the CPT Academy is for our sessions, for our tutoring sessions, to be recorded, and you can go ahead and watch those videos at your own leisure. You can loop them over as you sleep, wearing headphones if you want.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things I recommend is try to figure out when if listen back, try it. See if it works for you. If it works in any capacity, do it in combination with something else. You're driving to your job, you're cleaning the house, you're working out, where you could just have it kind of playing again and again so that like you said Mitchell, a lot of times it's like it's almost I think of it kind of like building Legos, right? The first time through, you're going to be able to get a couple pieces together, but then when you repeat the same thing, what you're building on is your existing structure already. So every time you get that exposure subsequently, you're going to have like a little bit more come together. And then you have those moments where it's like, oh, that's what that means. And I think a lot of people don't ever really get there because they don't have kind of the right resources to tap into to have that repetition. Yeah, okay, so that's yeah, great question. Now let's just talk about your idea to tutor. A lot of people who find our program took the test the first time and didn't pass, and they knew from the experience that they have what it takes to pass. They just were missing the right tools. So usually it's those people that are going to be seeking out tutoring. You sought out a tutoring program before even your first attempt. So do you want to explain to our audience what drew you to it?
What drew me to finding a tutor for NASM material was the fact that I found the NASM content random, confusing. It's, you're presented with all this material. Here you go. It's up to you. That's minus a tutor. So I knew that in order to be successful at this, I need someone who can take this course that NASM provides and turn it into something more akin to a college class, an online college class where you have access to, a tutor who will have webcam sessions with you, help you learn, help guide you through content that you don't really know. Some people have never encountered really anything like, you know, anything kinesiology related in their lives. They're just beginning a new career. They don't know absolutely anything about this stuff. So if that is you, you're going to be even more um, bewildered by the material, which is something you don't want to be. We will completely demystify everything.
Yeah. And you know, like you said, kind of that feeling of being just on your own. How do I do this? Another thing that we did is create these kind of like timing tables. If you want to take your test in 8 weeks, here's what you would need to do every week. Move through these modules, cover these lectures. And then for each section, we have the recommended homework, the practice questions, and we always have a video going through the practice questions so that you can learn how to take a standardized test without even kind of realizing that that's happening. Because I think a lot of people that are field tracks don't see themselves as good test takers, and then they become good test takers without even knowing that they're building those skills along the way through the practice. Yeah, so I think that that's like a little bit of what one of the things that I think is missing too is that level of kind of structure. Like if you got, like you said, if you go to a college class, you're given the syllabus, you know what's happening week by week, you know what your assignments are. So I don't think most people have the experience yet to know how to just design that for themselves. So I think that's one of the definite benefits of the program.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go for it.
The way we have it is especially ideal for people with unpredictable or extremely busy schedules. So, for instance, if you're only really available for 1 hour in the day, why not spend that hour, learning with your tutor, rather
Yeah,
than
really good point.
it would be more efficient if you have an intense schedule personally. If you have an intense work schedule or family schedule, if you have a lot to, if you're a very busy person and you can only really offer 1 hour a day, and you still want to get this NASM certification over with by passing the test, you're going to be a whole lot more efficient spending that time with your tutor on a session rather than just glazing over everything on the NASM website.
Yeah,
Which
and
much
this comes back to like having that schedule, because I one of the things that I recommend is a lot of times you have the flexibility, right? If it goes longer than you're planning, you usually are not, unless you hit your expiration date for the test, that's fine. But when you are working and okay, this is hard, life is hard already, I'm throwing something else that's really challenging and mentally demanding in there on top of it. If you know when your out is, it makes it easier, right? So say it's 6 weeks from now. You get through the first week, it's okay. You get through the second week, it's getting a little harder. Weeks 3 and 4, like you've been there, everyone is there. In the middle, you've got to just grind it out. But it's that knowing, okay, I'm only a couple weeks away from this, and then it's done. I never have to do this again. So I think like having that structure with the timing also helps mentally to get the work done without taking breaks. Like I think a lot of people want to take a break, but you know how it is. If you step away from it, it's still hanging over you, and then it's harder to pick back up. So it's better to just go through one straight shot and grind it out. Even if you have a busy life, like you said, figuring out how can I do this? And maybe it is doing things like where primarily your studying is going to happen when you're on the road, when you are doing other things that you have to do no matter what, like the cleaning and working out, and figuring out how to piggyback them. Yeah, so really good points there. Okay. So if you're interested in trying our complete tutoring program, we have, as I mentioned, 37 hours of video instruction. This covers the entire course. Everything that is eligible for the NASM CPT exam is covered, as well as 750 practice questions. So I've never had anybody say there weren't enough. This also includes a 120 question practice final that is designed to mimic the test as close as possible without having actual access to the test, which no one can unless they are inside of NASM's organization. Then, as we mentioned, a lot of things: learning how to study, how to take a test, what is your test strategy, breaking it down, knowing how many questions you're going to be shooting for in each section, how are you going to approach the test, managing test anxiety. And we're here to support you every step of the way. So when you're looking at the value, if you did say you did 37 hours of tutoring, average rate for this is about $100 an hour. The practice test, the questions, all of those cheat sheets, the exercise library, the overactive, underactive muscles, the program design numbers, the study schedule, the testing, all of these together would be valued at over $5,000. But for the complete tutoring course, because we want this to be accessible for everyone, you're already making a financial commitment by purchasing the NASM prep course and paying for your test. So we want you to pass the first time. We have the money back guarantee. It's just $249 for the entire course, everything included that we just talked about. If you're not ready to start with a full course, or if you just need to target one specific area, we offer some mini courses. Now, these are all included in the complete course. So they are just kind of broken off from that and isolated. So overactive, underactive muscles made easy. The basic science crash course, how to scoop up as many points as you can in basic science without becoming someone who kind of specializes or studies or gets sucked into the black hole of the basic science chapters. Keeping that easy, get in, get out. Put your time into the other sections, things like the exercise library, where you're going to get a greater percentage of questions and they are a little bit more predictable. And like we talked about, we also have the full practice test. And if you want to just get started with us and see if it's the right fit for you, we have a free practice test that you can use to assess where you're at today. So feel free to get in touch with us anytime. We have the link below, and you can email me at ashley@thecptacademy.com. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us. I think with this recent experience, having everything so fresh in your mind, this is invaluable information for other CPTs who are just trying to find their way through the test prep and the test experience. So thank you so much for that. And for everyone, please be sure to check out all of our interviews where you can learn more inside tips and advice from other recently certified CPTs, as well as career advancement and continuing education guidance too. The CPT Academy was recently featured on world champion kickboxer Shannon Hudson's podcast. If you want to check that out, you'll find that link below too. Happy studies!